Hey YouTube, I just have a question for you today. Do you really know what you're eating? I don't know if you've heard about all the fake foods that are out there that people eat every day, like most of us eat every day, and we're really duped because we don't know what's fake and what's real. Because sometimes you can be an artist and you can create something and it can be fake as can be and it will look real. And I'm an artist, so there's times when I will create things using polymer clays and different things. And there is a certain skill set to creating something and making it look so real that someone will think that it's real and want to eat it. I've made like fava beans and strawberries and raspberries and things totally fake. And I amaze myself that I even learned how to do that. But I have done it. And so if I'm able to do that, how much more someone that's more creative than me able to do that very same thing. But today I thought we'd talk about just one thing in particular, honey. I love honey. Real honey tastes great. I try to, be really conscious of what I'm eating and eat those things that are really good and healthy and nutritious for me and thinking about the bees and the environment and all of that. A lot of that honey that they sell in the store, especially the one that looks like it's in a little bear shaped container, a lot of that is high fructose corn syrup. Made to look like honey, same color. But there's some products out there that say tastes like sugar because it's made with sugar, but then it's not really sugar. These lower calorie products, creations that are out there. And I can eat the object that they say tastes like sugar because it's made with sugar, and I get an aftertaste in my mouth. And then I get gas. And then I don't feel so great after having it. So 16 calories in a teaspoon or to have that calorie free option that gives me the aftertaste and it's not really natural. Anyway, back to the honey. There's this little experiment I learned that can be done to find out if honey is real honey or not. I had bought this container of honey recently from a store. And usually when I buy honey, I mean, it's the same color as the honey I'm familiar with. I'll cover up the name on there, but it's the same color as the honey I'm familiar with. But I shake it, it moves kind of like water. I'm not used to honey being that thin. So I thought I'd figure out how can I be sure that this is real honey? Well, I learned that there's a couple of things that can be done. Take the lid off. I've got a small container of water. According to what I researched, honey, if you put a little bit of it into some water, it should go straight to the bottom and just sit there. It should not immediately dissolve because pure honey is thick and should settle. And I don't know if you can see that. It looks like it's settling on the bottom. Still doesn't look thick enough for me, but it does look like it's settling on the bottom. But there's a second test that we can do to be sure that what I bought is real honey. And this is my old honey container. I kept it after I used it. And this is the honey that was locally grown, from bees that were locally raised and so this was something that I really really appreciate it. And it's a single source honey, so that you're not saying, okay, where did this come from? Is it from here? Is it from there? What farm was the bees raised on? Where was the honey gathered from? So this is just water, just plain water in there. And we'll come back to that other container in a minute and see if the honey is still just hanging out in the bottom of the container or if it's started to dissolve. Because pure honey is supposed to be thicker, which is what I'm used to, which is why I'm questioning the larger container that I have, because it should be thicker and it should just settle at the bottom of that container. But this is vinegar, just distilled white vinegar. And I'm going to add some distilled white vinegar to this water. And just a few drops of honey to the vinegar. Because I was told that if it starts to foam, then the honey is fake. You can see the honey falling off in there. It's just going straight to the bottom. And you see that? It's not getting foamy, which is good. Or is it? Looks like it's just resting on the bottom. Go back to the other container. Uh-huh. It's still at the bottom. Can you see that right there? So although this is a thin brand of honey, it says pure honey meal. It's a pure honey, but it is a thinner variety. And reading the label, it says that this is from India. So it's imported honey. Now, if I had paid attention when I was shopping, I might not have got that because I prefer to have things that are from locally, either here within the city or within the state that I'm from, or at least in my country. Because not that I have anything against India, but there are different practices when it comes to food preparation in other countries, and I would have taken the time to try to get something that is locally owned. But stop the presses. I do not see that honey anymore. So that wasn't that long ago that I put that in there. It didn't foam as as I was told that it would if it was fake. But the honey is also it's there's still a little bit settled on the bottom of this container. Very little settled on the bottom. But it's blended so well that from the top you can't even tell it's there. So is this 100% pure quality honey? I think not. The honey that I usually get is thick. It has some consistency to it so that when I stick my spoon in, or if I use whatever I may use to get some honey out, it's there and it's formed and it's staying in together in place. This is very, as I said, it's very watery. And maybe that's the custom of this particular country to use honey that is of this sort. But it's not very thick. Not at all. And although it says that it's a product of India, reading the label now, I see that it also says that it was prepared for Ont- Ontario, Canada. So now I'm confused. Where is this really from? India's one direction, Canada's another direction. So you're telling me that this product is a culmination of a bunch of things that has been processed, put together, and delivered to Minnesota? Not so sure about that. But as I said, you can see there's a teeny bit of the honey still on the bottom, but for the most part, it just doesn't come across as impressive as I would expect. But there is a small bit of honey on the bottom. So, like when we're out shopping and buying stuff, what are we really getting? Do we really know what we're getting or where it came from or what it's really made with? I look for the ingredient section on this to see what all's in here. And it just says not a significant source of saturated fat, trans fat, cholesterol, sodium, fiber, vitamin A, vitamin C, calcium, or iron. It doesn't say that there's anything else in here other than the honey, but this honey pours like syrup, like maple syrup without the maple flavor. So, and on the front it says number one amber liquid. Why would you call honey an amber liquid? Honey is honey. But I don't know. Just something to think about because we live in a time where there's been a lot of food shortages lately, and part of it's from people stockpiling stuff and being overprepared or trying to prep or whatever. Um, and so I guess manufacturers are trying to make up for that. I don't know. But this honey is not of the quality that I'm used to. And I got it because it was like, oh, this is a large container and the price is really low. It's on sale. Well, it's because it's not of the quality that I like. And sometimes quality is better than quantity. Coffee. Do you know where your coffee is really from? Are you really drinking coffee for you coffee lovers out there? I'm a coffee lover, as you guys know. I love my coffee. And no, I'm not rubbing elbows with Juan Valdez or out picking coffee beans myself. But when it's time for me to go and buy a sack of coffee, I can go through a grocery store and see all these bags of ground coffee and wonder what's real and what's not real. And I say that because sometimes what I've been told is that sometimes there's actually like sawdust mixed in with the ground coffee, but you can't really tell because it's in a bag and you can't see through the bag, so you don't know what you're getting. You're just scooping it up and percolating that stuff and drinking it down. But if you have an opportunity to buy a bag of coffee beans and then grind them yourself, either the little deal in the grocery store, or if you have your own magic bullet or whatever bean, something to grind your beans up with, or if you go to a specialty shop. I like to go to a specialty shop and buy a sack of coffee beans. And they'll say, "Do you want this one that's already ground?" I say, "No, I want the fresh." And when they scoop up the fresh in the bag, I said, "Now, can you grind it for me right now?" They grind it in front of me. So that way I know what I'm getting is really coffee that's been ground up. And there's a difference in the flavor. There's a difference in the quality. That's one of those things that it's good to keep an eye out for. Another thing would be when you go to a restaurant or if you have food delivered to you, like sometimes I'll call and order for fish to be delivered to me, fried fish, like a fried fish dinner, and sometimes they'll have so many different fried fish dinners on the page when I call this one certain restaurant. And they'll say, "Honey, what kind of fried fish do you want?" And I'll say, "Walleye." And they send over this meal with this big fish on it. And I taste it and I think, is that how walleye tastes? Am I confused and not remembering how walleye tastes? So I try. A few days later, call the same place. "I'd like a fish dinner, please." "Oh, what kind of fish dinner you want?" "Whiting." "Okay, we'll be there 40 minutes. They come, they deliver it. It looks the same as the walleye. It tastes the same as the walleye. The difference in the taste and the look, for me anyway, of walleye and whiting is like from the east to the west. But they fried this thing up and they done sent it on to me and oh, it's your imagination. You don't know what you're talking about. Blah 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 blah. Sometimes it's better to go to the market, look at that fish yourself, get it, bring it home, and cook it up in the kitchen. Because they don't always give you what you're asking for. It's like once it's battered and fried, you can't really tell. So, and you're hungry, so you're just gonna eat it. We'll give you extra hot sauce or tartar sauce or whatever. You'll just eat it. But a lot of times, these restaurants will substitute a lower class fish for the fish that you really want. Sometimes those lower class fish can make you have an upset stomach or whatever, but they do make substitutions, even in sushi sometimes. Well, I won't continue to carry on. I just wanted to share this with you about this honey experiment. And you see this container looks like water now. I see very little yellow at the bottom, but it looks mostly like water. And and that was the one that had the water and vinegar. This one has water and honey, or the honey meal as they call it. You can see a teensy bit at the bottom, but looking at it from the top, it just looks like clear dirty water, sort of. But that's something to think about for today. Where does your food come from? Are you really sure of what you're eating, and what you're cooking with? Fake foods are out there. There's all kinds of fake foods, and I'll try to talk about it more on my next video. But thank you for joining me. Please like, share, and subscribe. And I look forward to talking to you again soon.